Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. This is Clever Orbits. You didn't see that one coming, did you? Because we're in the mirror universe. That was really the best I could do on short notice. I took about 30 seconds to figure that one out. Hi, I'm Louis Brandmeier. This is, in fact, Clever Orbits. We are your favorite, most awesome, fun Star Trek podcast. I have with me two lovely and amazing gentlemen.
Lovely.
Richard Futrell.
The lovely Tyler Brandmeier.
I'm really glad you guys remembered that you had names and decided to share them. We are tonight talking about the mid-season premiere. What a weird thing. This is the first time in Star Trek history we've had one of those since 1966, a mid-season premiere for Star Trek Discovery Season 1, episode titled Despite Yourself. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I got a lot of notes and a lot of fun out of this, especially when I watched it the second time on my computer at work rather than watching it on my iPhone 5S in the middle of the night on a bootleg site. I usually watch it on CBS All Access. I bought Access yesterday because the show is back on.
But you turned the dark side. You became your mirror universe self.
I didn't have the app on my phone anymore because I had deleted it after I canceled the service at the end of the last half season. So I was without CBS All Access. I don't have a TV either. So it was what I had to do. I did what I had to do to survive in this cruel universe.
That's right.
Like Lorca.
Keep telling yourself that.
So anyway, I really liked this episode, especially the second time through. It's much easier to empathize with and appreciate what's going on with the characters when they're not 1 inch tall and less. I really realized that. I was like, my brain can't actually process the emotional things that are going on. My first experience of the episode was actually really weird because of that. Because I couldn't, the empathic circuitry didn't activate for the characters. And because they were just too small. And so it was like mostly this cold, rational analysis of plot. And I was initially really kind of bored. So I'm really glad I got to watch it a second time because I was like, oh, great character beat after great character beat. And really pretty, CGI and gorgeous colors and all of this. But anyway, initial thoughts, guys. What do you guys think?
I agree that characters are really the most interesting thing in this. And the episode really fleshes out and deepens and asks interesting questions about these characters.
Yeah, there's something that came through on I believe it was the IO9 review that I really liked. They talk about how the bulk of the episode sees the crew adapting to being stuck in this bizarre alt reality, and crucially sees the crew sees something the series doesn't do nearly enough of, letting its characters just exist with each other, which was so cool. You see Michael opening up to Tyler, Lorca checking in on Dr. Culver. And
you see Ash Tyler checking in on Dr. Culver.
Yeah, well,
oh, God.
Yeah, we'll have some stuff to talk about. Anyway, I really liked that from that article. And then the AV Club article was good, too. Sadly, Jammers is always never up right after the show airs, and then Trexpertise takes some time. Penske File wasn't up today. I was really disappointed. Anyway, enough about other people's podcasts. Tyler, what did you think? Or should I say, Vok, what did you think?
I don't know that I'm Vok yet. So,
but you do know how to break neck.
When the occasion arises. So the episode in question, I thought, and I've been reading this from many different points of view, like how the original series episode Mirror Mirror was supposed to be like a one-off. Like they were never supposed to come back to the universe. Like everything that happens after Spock goes back with the idea of revolution in mind is sort of just in the ether. And later it was explored. And I thought the episodes on DS9 were really good.
Same.
Yeah, but I think it's played to good effect here. Even on Enterprise, those were hands down my favorite so far. And I kind of liked that they nodded to Enterprise. They referenced the USS Defiant that when it disappeared in the Tholian web and then resurfaced.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I really liked that. I liked how they reference both the original series and the disappearance of the Defiant and Enterprise in the kind of reappearance of the Defiant in the Mirror Universe earlier on. But what was tricky about that for me, and I think we should talk about this, is like, okay, so with foreknowledge of the fate of the Defiant, because the Defiant is still in service. It's flying around fighting in the Klingon War. They know that the Defiant is going to somehow get thrown both back in time and into into another universe. So why doesn't Discovery let Starfleet know? Or, like, you know, why doesn't Starfleet do something about it? Or do they just presume that it's like this important temporal paradox that if it weren't there, Discovery would never have gotten back and we would never have won the Klingon War? Maybe that's the answer. But it also kind of seems unfair to that crew. They all went insane and killed each other. I mean,
maybe Discovery isn't going to get back.
Web. What's that?
Hey, maybe Discovery doesn't get back and they stay in the Mirror Universe. Yeah, and maybe we just haven't seen everything play out just yet. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
I think they have to get back to the normal timeline because we win the Klingon War.
We got to win the war.
Yeah. Somehow. I mean, we know, and it was funny because apparently Starbase 46 is near Organia. We know that the Treaty of Organia happens later on in the Errand of Mercy between the Klingons and the Federation, but it doesn't look like they were at war in season 1 of the original series. It looks like there was a previous conflict that now they're about to reinitiate. So anyway, there's just this whole thing about how the Organians kind of stopped the war. I'm curious. There's like a treaty that ends the war. Anyway, I'm kind of probably confused about that. So please continue, Tyler. What else did you like?
All right. Well, I like the action bits. I just love any choreographed scene where Burnham gets to lay the smack down or kill someone. In this instance, it's someone who dies just as easily and quickly in the Prime universe. But
he
this
did in
time,
the pilot. Yeah.
This time he doesn't go out getting, sucked inside out by the vacuum of space. He gets to die at the hands of a badass, and then she walks onto that bridge, and that was probably my favorite scene. I'm not sure what I think about what's going on with Stamets, because he could be going a Gary Mitchell type route. He could be.
Well, his eyes aren't silver.
I just don't know. His eyes not silver, right? He doesn't demonstrate any ESP type abilities at all. Just the ability to not notice when someone's near him and then push them very far away with the degree of strength.
Yeah, that was kind of weird that he was that strong. But I think he sees in spurts. I think he sees all potentiality, and he sees the future. I think his mind has access to every universe the mycelial network is connected to. For example, a couple episodes before, last half season, he sees Tilly and he says, "Oh, Captain, how were you? I didn't realize you were down here, Captain." And she's like,
"Nice.
I'm a captain? No, I don't believe that at all. What are you talking about? You're confused." And really, we know now that in the Mirror Universe, she's a captain. So probably he was seeing the Mirror Universe, and maybe, we don't have absolute proof. He could have been seeing another universe for all that.
He could have been seeing the future, too, so for all we know, yeah.
Yeah, he could have been seeing the future of this crew with her acting as that. And then also the weird metaphorical language thing that he's got going on. I see the palace. Yeah, that was cool. And then the enemy is among us, a clear reference to him knowing that something's bad about Ash Tyler.
So we can just confirm it's Vok now, really.
Well, it's all but. We don't know. We just know that 100%. They're.
With the Klingon prayer, which was cool.
He was talking with Vok's voice.
Prayer, by the way.
That's right. You listen and you'll remember. It sounds just like Vok did in the pilot. In
Vok's
every
weird,
subsequent episode with him. Yeah. In that slow, deliberate Klingon delivery. So yeah, no, he has to be Vok. That's like 90% for me, I think.
Or he's got Vok's like memory engrams or whatever they were talking about.
Well, so here's what Culver distinguished, right? Culber looks at everything in his body and realizes, oh, he's not a human who was abused. He's some kind of being that was taller, that had longer femurs, a longer spinal cord, etc., that had everything compacted, compounded, and shortened. And probably he derived from that the inference that this guy, I mean, Klingons tend to be bigger than humans, generally, probably was a Klingon, but he doesn't come out and say it. Culber, by the way, who we know is not dead from After Trek. We know, well, okay, we don't know in what aspect he is dead. We know that it seems, for all intents and purposes, that he's dead. But in After Trek, Aaron Harberts, and then the rest of the executive producers came on and said, yeah, actually, the guy who plays Culber says the best scene of my 25-year acting career is coming in the next couple episodes of this season. And so it's like, okay, well, unless it's him acting as a zombie, which I don't think that would be the best scene of anyone's career.
I wonder if Culber's mirror universe self falls in love with Stamets from the Prime reality.
Oh yeah,
that would be cool.
That's a real possibility. I mean, they raised the idea that they might encounter themselves or copies of themselves in the mirror universe, so it's got to happen, right?
Clearly, they're staying there a bit. They got to show it.
Well, that's the classic Chekhov's gun theory, right? You don't talk about something that you aren't going to use plot-wise. You don't have a gun on the mantelpiece that doesn't end up shooting something.
Exactly.
So yeah, I thought this episode was good. It was a lot of plot, a lot of moving parts, a lot happening all at once, but it was for the most part.
It was TVMA. In case anyone is wondering, I think this may be the first episode that was flat out just TVMA. So, yeah. Not that that's wrong or bad or like silly or whatever. It's just something to notice.
What? You mean the TVMA moment didn't occur in that episode where they're like, yeah, we ate Giorgio, the Klingons?
No, because you don't see them eat Giorgio. You don't see see our main character kill someone in cold blood. And actually, both the acting and the directing and the choreography of that scene were awesome. I mean, the fact that she stops gravity was cool. The fact that she becomes so vicious so quickly as needed. The fact that she anticipates him. The only thing I really didn't like about that scene was he telegraphed that he was about to attack her. He basically told her. I mean, he was figuring out while he was talking that he should attack her. And talking about it showed how stupid a strategist he is, how little he should be the captain. So anyway, but
and thus he isn't the captain.
Yeah, he's not the captain anymore.
It's a meritocracy.
What's that?
It's a meritocracy.
Yes, and you merit sort of points by striking more and more fear, and fear is kind of equivalent to respect. Though I really I want to talk about this scene first, but I also really liked the Terran's strength, their strength is painted rust speech, because that was a huge, cool new insight into the mirror universe, and perhaps
let's talk about it.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Before we get there, Burnham or Shaniqua Martin Green's acting, really, when she kills Connor, was awesome. You can see that she's almost in tears, as she's actually killing him, and she's distraught, and she's in pain, and she's sad, and then suddenly in the ruckus, right, in the very brief ruckus of everybody clapping for this body falling to the deck on the bridge and her defeating him, she's able to get her bearings back emotionally enough to where, and that's where the Vulcan kicks in, right? We know that she's a human feeling feelings and experiencing things, but that's where her character is freaking cool, because we know, see, this is where I'm connecting the dots, is she is Vulcan enough and trained enough to where she knows where to turn it on and how
she knows how to do a Vulcan hello.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's what this was. Actually, wait, kind of. Not quite, but kind of. So
this is a solution she just decided to employ because she's like, this might work here.
I also like that when she's on the bridge, you can tell that she's looking around and sort of thinking okay, who's the next person who's going to come at me?
Yeah, she talked to Tyler about how everybody's currying favor and stuff, trying to.
Here's a question. Are the humans in the mirror universe supposed to be like the Klingons in the regular universe?
Yes, actually. So there's one really great line that I love. Terran Empire is characterized by unconditional hatred and rejection of anything other, which is just this like perfect political counterpoint to classic Star Trek, which is welcoming, which is open, which is accepting and tolerant of multiple species within the Federation. And the Terran Empire is the diabolic inverse. And they happen to match the Klingons as they're expressed at this time in our universe, who are like, hey, the humans are taking us over atom by atom with their, we come in peace. And, like, we hate this. And we just want to fight them. And we want to keep them doing their thing. Like the Terran Empire, yeah, you're right. A great parallel. They're basically the same thing in the mirror universe, which leads me to wonder what the Klingons are like in the mirror universe. I guess they're just...
Yeah, maybe they've got a federation.
Well, we see later on they're part of the Klingon-Cardassian alliance, so it seems like maybe they're a little weaker. I don't even know. We don't know anything.
Yeah, that's hundreds of years later.
That's 800 years later, yeah.
So I wonder if, like, the arc that the season is supposed to be taking is, like, they go into the mirror universe and they live in this culture which is basically like the Klingon culture, and that gives them some insight that allows them to come back and win the war with minimal bloodshed or something.
Well, so this is really interesting, right? In the autobiography of Jean-Luc Picard, which I highly recommend, they're fighting the Cardassian War. He's on the Stargazer, and he realizes that why the Cardassians are fighting the war is because they want replicator technology. And so he decides, I'm in their mindset. They're suffering. The gull that tortures Picard later talks about this, how there wasn't enough food and all of this. And so he gets into their mindset, but not quite enough. Like, he gets into it enough to realize, oh, you know what? Admirals, you should let me go and offer them replicator technology. And he does, and he doesn't do it with a certain amount of strength and force in his offer. Like, he needs more ships or something, and he's only got one ship, and the shields are down. And the Cardassians pretty brutally attack him. And so, there's a sense in which getting into the mindset of your enemy is useful, but also knowing, like, the extent to which empathizing with them, who aren't empathizing with you and not interested in you empathizing with them, like, how useful is that? So I think more likely probably because they are the radical other and they hate what's different and all of that, like, I think it's more likely going to be the cloak, that algorithm that helps to win the war. Though, I mean, it would be interesting, yeah, to see if they get some insights, because there's this mirroring of the Klingons by the Federation, or by the Terran Empire. So that's my thoughts on that. Oh, this was interesting. So you wanted to talk about the Terran strength conversation. I thought that was awesome, right? Michael has seen through the universe already. She sees why, this appearance of strength is there. And she talks about how, everybody is actually secretly terrified, and they've sealed themselves, and it's painted rust. It's like, they're experiencing from their birth, probably, the fact that this universe is cutthroat and shitty and terrifying, and in order to get through it, you just, you kill your heart. Like, you kill your empathy, and you start playing the power game and surviving, basically. Which is interesting that Lorca characterizes their changing the ship, etc., as them doing everything that they need to survive, and then later gives that speech on the transporter to Tyler and Michael, like, you do whatever you have to. And so there's a kind of blurriness to this, because he's already kind of ethically gray. He's already kind of like fuzzy. And so to bring that sensibility into this universe is actually, it sharpens the usefulness of his approach, but it also kind of dampens its conflict with the classical Starfleet ideals. Like, if it's what you have to do along, it's not like that it's a fallback or a failure to some extent. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It
and
also,
then there's the other thing. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, it also sort of softens him in that up until now he's been this really, really dodgy character, and now compared with all these other people, it's kind of like, okay, I guess he's not that bad. So we thought he was really scary and edgy, and oh my God, it could be much worse.
yeah, suddenly. It was interesting. He arrived at the conclusion that they were in an alternate universe fairly quickly. I mean, it was implied in Boo talking about the quantum resonance and all of that. And, you know, he also, one reviewer noted that he was pretty excited. Like, he had this moment of scientific discovery and enthusiasm about, like, being in a parallel universe while he was realizing that, like, we're basically screwed and alone in this new universe. So, I don't know, some people might want to take that as evidence that he's really mirror universe Lorca who escaped to our universe and has wanted to get back, and that's why he changed the coordinates. But then why is he in an agony booth? I don't think he'd play the game that long. I think he'd grab for power as quickly as possible once getting back home. So I think...
Yeah, I don't think he's a mirror universe person.
What's that?
I don't think he's a mirror universe person.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's actually just a troubled soul from the regular universe who makes some decisions and, like, is in a certain way that's kind of questionable and leaves him intact as a character. Like, he's not that way because of the mirror universe. He's that way because he's freaking interesting. And he's kind of the most interesting, ethically ambiguous Starfleet captain we've had dealings with on a show. So,
God, I hope that's what it is. I really do. I don't want there to be any weird explanation for that branding and or tattoo on his back.
There's a branding on his back?
But I want one. You remember when the Admiral tried to touch his back and he, like, basically pinned her and put the phaser in her face?
Oh, I think those are just scars from war. But it could be. I don't know.
It's a pretty geometrical scar.
I'd have to go back and see the scene. One question I have, well, I've got a lot of questions about this. But, Richard, what did you want to say about the Terran strength as painted rust? What did you think about that?
Oh, I mean, I think it's interesting, and it psychologically has some validity to it, this idea that in a world of fear, there's no real strength. But on the other hand, if you live in that world and you're a captain, you got to have some strength, even if it's strength in the form of cunning and ruthlessness. So I think the painted rust thing is like, it would be nice if that were true. Yeah. But you do have to have some kind of strength to survive in that world.
Yeah, it's more inspirational than observational. It was almost, I mean, to some extent it's true, and it's a valuable insight into the mirror universe that I don't think any of the series has ever articulated quite as precisely or quite as well. But it's also, I think Michael realized the value of rhetoric in those moments for Tilly or for Killy. What is it Saru says? Well, that's not very clever.
Yep.
I really like it. But the agony booths were cool, actually.
That was fun. You want to try one out?
I love agony
booths. Like it ended on Lorca, right? I mean, it was terrible, but it really, that I think is the nail in the coffin of the mirror universe Lorca theory. I mean, like, he is clearly in a lot of pain, suffering for the sake of the thing. And I also, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the fact that they ended the episode with that shot makes me think that maybe he's going to go crazy or something. It's going to have some significance.
Maybe.
Maybe he's from the mirror universe.
That'd be so disappointing. I think one of the things that disappointed me about the end of the episode was it feels like they had planned to do 2 episodes in the mirror universe, and they didn't want things to be simple or easy. Like, in the last 5 or 10 minutes, you're thinking, all right, maybe they go over there, she gets the file, they kind of rush back and are chased, and then they have to, like, go to warp, and as they're going to warp, they figure out how to go back to their regular universe. Like, but no, she has to navigate political intrigue on the new ship, and because of that, she can't get near the files, and so it feels like they could have ended the episode pretty quickly and pretty easily. It wouldn't have been as exciting, it wouldn't have been as interesting. I guess it's a good choice that they ultimately made, but I just feel like, you know, her kind of explanations for I couldn't get access to the files were kind of thin. It seems like, you know, maybe she doesn't have the codes. She probably doesn't have any of the codes to get access to those, and they're probably classified. So there, now we have a better explanation.
So do you think we're going to see the Emperor?
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of hype about that.
I think we're going to find out who the Emperor is. I mean, it can't be Empress Sato as it was at the end of Enterprise. I mean, because she had the power to enforce that with the Defiant. I think it has to be somebody else. I don't know who it is. But yeah.
I wonder if they're going to end up having to go to like the Emperor's Palace, and that's what Stamets is on about.
Huh. That would be interesting.
Like, what if we think it's metaphorical, but it's actually like, no, there's a palace that you really shouldn't go in.
That'd be far less exciting than a lot of other things, but it would be sensible. It would make sense. In that same scene, incidentally, they used medical sound effects straight from TOS. I loved that. That was really satisfying.
I keep hearing TNG sound effects.
Yeah, they have those too. They're making reference to everything. Let's see. So the most important question I think this episode forces us to ask ourselves is, was Tyler drinking coffee or chocolate milk?
Yeah, I noticed that.
I'm really kidding. I couldn't care less either way. I don't think it has any impact on anything.
Are you kidding? It was my ultimate question for this podcast.
Thank you for playing back. Go ahead.
I was wondering if someone was going to sit down and say, I was wondering if someone's going to sit down and taste it and say, oh, this is really strong. And then there'd be some kind of weird Ractigino reference, except they don't know what Ractigino is yet, or I don't know.
Or maybe they just leave it and we still don't know what's in the cup.
No, they really leave that plot thread hanging.
Strong hot chocolate? Oh.
I do like that Tyler has the blackout, that Ash Tyler, disappears from himself. What I think is going on when that happens is his, Vok personality is trying to reconnect, and reconnects, gains control of, his neocortex or whatever for just a brief couple seconds, and then he comes back as Tyler, because the personality is so strong that it resists, and there's this kind of neural war going on in his brain, and it would explain why the cup is destroyed, maybe Vok is just so angry that he breaks the cup, or he's about to run around the ship with L'Rell, he grabs the phaser and they're about to leave together, and then he comes to, and he's like, what am I doing? And then he puts her back in the brig and all of this. I think that it would explain kind of what's going on with those blackouts. And I think Tyler is now one of the most interesting characters on the show. I mean, he's like a half-triggered Manchurian candidate whose fake persona is actually really sympathetic. We empathize with the constructed personality as if it were real. And that's the interesting question is it a real person? I think it is. I think he's as real as anybody else, even though he was constructed and even though he exists on top of someone else's persona. And I think, in fact, the real interesting ethical question is, who has a right to that body brain, Vok or Tyler? Of course, we all want it to be Tyler, because Tyler's a good person, and we don't want Vok to take over, and we don't like Vok. We don't empathize with their aims, being the Klingons. But, Vok was there first, and then Vok underwent all this horrific stuff to become this kind of sleeper agent. So anyway, following that theory, I know it hasn't been 100% confirmed, but it's almost 100% with that prayer. So anyway.
Right. And we see shades of him rebelling against his quote-unquote programming. Because you see L'Rell is all yeah, that should have worked, but it didn't, because Ash Tyler's persona is winning out in this battle of the minds, in this weird part of existence where these two minds are sort of coexisting and fighting each other, and not exactly everything you just said, but a little worse.
What do you think about the character, Richard?
I think it's interesting to parallel his sort of dual nature with the dual nature that everyone else is discovering via their mirror world counterparts. So in Vok or Ash Tyler, it's all within him. But at the same time, Tilly's dealing with the fact that there's this aspect of her character which she's never given voice to, but apparently has been latent in her this whole time because she's capable of acting this way.
Yeah. So
it's the whole theme of this episode is your dark side. The idea
despite yourself.
To be a hero, you have to have the capacity to be a monster, because otherwise you're not doing anything.
Yeah, you have to.
I think Tilly always said that.
It's almost a reference to the enemy within, like the original series episode where Kirk gets split. What I love is of course the title, right? The title is despite means in spite of yourself, in contempt of yourself, and it's kind of a spectacularly amoral solution that Lorca comes up with. Like, in order to survive, we must submerge every aspect of our expression here into our mirror universe version. Because the ship has to be a mirror universe version. Each of us has to act a different way. And then Tyler is in spite of himself, too. In spite of himself in a different way. Like, he has spite for the possibility of him being a Klingon, even though Vok occasionally erupts, like when he kills Culber, which was sad. I like Culber, but as I said, he's probably just
I did too. That was my one reservation with this episode, or it would have been if I hadn't known that. Oh, Mirror Universe Culber is coming. But,
we don't know this mirror. We don't know how it is, but
he could even be resurrected for all we know. Yeah.
He could. I mean, using the magic powers of Demet, who's been apparently, according to the trailer for the next episode, holding him alone in sickbay for a long time. Like,
that made me cry.
One of the reviewers actually. Oh, it did. Yeah, I really need to watch these episodes when I'm alone, because I was at work and I definitely had feels moments, but I had to kind of like shove them down because I was in front of all these people. One of the reviewers joked that, like, why does the Discovery sickbay always look so woefully understaffed, was what one person asked. And then
that's the AV Club reviewer, yeah.
Another person was like, hey, it seems like sickbay isn't really where people who are sick go. It seems like a place where people occasionally show up.
Yeah.
like how can Demet go for how long without them discovering Culber? Or sending somebody there to check on him. It reminds me of this scene from Family Guy where this guy falls into a frickin' vat of needles or something, and then the scene continues, and the guy sits up with all these needles that clearly have a whole bunch of biohazard stuff stuck in him, and he says, "Why haven't you guys called someone?" And then he falls back down. It's just kind of why isn't anybody checking out sickbay? Why is there?
Should have been an immediate response. His life signs are no longer there.
Yeah, because we know that their internal sensors can read people's life signs, and apparently have been reading all of them. So yeah, there's some things to contend with about that. But man, I've got so much more to say about this. I love the new uniforms and the armor from the Terran Empire. I love that they did this new spin on the Terran uniforms. I find it kind of silly and funny and very similar to Starfleet that they have this new logo for the Terran universe that a couple years later gets changed to a slightly different sword plunging through the earth.
That's Starfleet for you.
Yeah, Terran Starfleet. The Manchurian test is a kind of funny, cool idea.
Yeah, that was cute.
It's so common for sleeper agents to happen that we've got a test we made. Okay. Let's see. And near the end of the episode, Culber still has the Delta shield on. It's kind of weird to me because they're all supposed to have exchanged their Delta shields for the new insignia.
True.
He really is out of the loop.
Yeah, maybe he's just so obsessed with saving his lover that So
maybe people kind of don't like him, and so they don't go to visit him, and so he just never got the memo that they're in an alternate universe.
You
can just see his head down, still no messages. Okay, guys, I'll go back to running tests and spinning the centrifuge.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Lonely centrifuge.
Lonely and sad. No, I think an interesting question is, where's the other Discovery and what's happening with it? See, in Mirror Mirror, we get some scenes of the barbarian versions of Kirk and crew on the regular Enterprise. I'm Captain Kirk, let go of me! All of this. And so, it makes me curious what's going on in the regular universe where presumably the Discovery is, unless it just disappeared from these two universes altogether, which is highly unlikely. It seems like there's a special connection with how often we visit there in the Star Trek universe between our universe and the mirror universe specifically, of all the different alternate realities that are possible and that we know exist from that episode where Worf encounters a quantum fissure with 28,000 or 280,000 enterprises that all hail the original Enterprise at once, which is funny. We're receiving 28,000 hails. And they talk about this in the Shatnerverse Mirror Universe novels, that there's some special quantum connection between that universe and ours. And I won't go into the answer to that because it's really well done in that series, Spectre, Dark Victory, and Preservers, which I also highly recommend. But there is, I think, something there. And so I think it's highly likely that the other discovery did come to our universe. And speaking of that, the Mirror Universe, also has the same issues that the Discovery timeline universe has now. Everything's got to change a lot very quickly in the next couple years in order for it to look like it does in the original series. And also another question related to that, Starfleet, let's say Discovery comes back to the real universe or the normal universe. They know about the mirror universe. Why doesn't Starfleet communicate that information to everybody? Why is it just something new that Kirk is finding out about? And maybe Discovery just doesn't survive. Okay, well, and this is a kind of tragic, interesting show because, it gets destroyed right before it brings the message back. I don't know.
Erased from the memory.
Think, well, maybe only one of them survives. Maybe only Burnham survives and goes into hiding because what she discovered was so horrifying or something.
Or feels so guilty because of what she had to do as captain.
Because she had to kill a guy in an elevator.
You make it sound so not terrible, Richard.
Yeah, when I saw how upset she was, I was thinking, these people do need to toughen up.
Yes.
Yeah, and well, she does clearly. So,
the tone
what a show that
you
would be.
Said that, though, Richard, the tone with which you said that was kind of like, what
so
you don't kill
in
an elevator every week.
That's the world they're in now.
It's like, how many dead bodies just fall out of elevators? How many standing ovations happen every week?
I wonder who got killed in the elevator today.
You got to know one of the bridge crew is like, oh, it happened again. I don't feel like, well, I'm going to clap. Okay.
I got to clean up. Yeah. So I noticed in Empire Strikes Back, which I was watching this weekend, I really loved it. There's the scene where Vader chokes out that guy for having the fleet come out of hyperspace too quickly and, lose the element of surprise against the rebels on Hoth. And, he chokes the guy out, and then Captain Nita does what I still love and appreciate. He, looks, and then he nods. All he does is nod. He doesn't have to tell them we've got a dead body to clean up. He nods, as if it's just a regular occurrence for somebody to get choked out and killed. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, we got another one. Clean up on aisle 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vader would have better results if he led by inspiration rather than by fear. Same
inspiration rather than expiration.
Yeah. And depression. Everyone's depressed around him for sure.
Yeah, everybody just looks terrified and a little bit sad and not happy on the ship, especially Admiral Nita. He's just kind of like, oh my God, I hope I don't fuck up because I'll die. Yeah. So there were beautiful colors on this show in this episode, especially in the background. I like that. I liked the threat ganglia from Saru right before Tyler's entrance to the bridge.
As if we needed more telegraphing.
Yeah, you're right, actually. They could have gone without a couple of the references to Tyler being Bach or the enemy or whatever. I mean, I guess it was kind of okay to have both the ganglia and Stamets, because for Stamets you're setting up Culber, Culber having knowledge that something is wrong, and we as the viewer, there's added dramatic suspense because we're like, well, he's probably going to die. This sucks. So, I mean, but yeah, the episode, I don't know, could have said a little less. Maybe there's a better way to do that.
I think the whole Ash Tyler Vok thing has just not been handled in the most effective way, and it's okay. No series is perfect.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's going to be adequate for what his character does, I think. This is basically just checking off a few boxes so that we can get on to the real emotional crux of Ash and Vok. So.
And now that they've slept together, Bach, Ash, and Burnham. Like, they're in it to win it as a couple to whatever extent. I mean, like, so she's got to deal with that and or suffer from it. And, like, I mean, it also struck me as kind of natural. I mean, it wasn't graphic, which was cool. It was really elegantly done. I mean, they've had some sex scenes on Star Trek, and, like, this was really kind of touching and well done because they're both kind of terrified and confused and a little bit dismayed by the situation that they're in, and they're seeking solace in each other and offering comfort and the promise of protection and basically love in a really profound way to each other. And so I liked that this, episode kind of ended on that.
I think Ash Tyler needs to learn how to not overpromise and underdeliver, because he knows that he's got this element in himself that he can't control and that he doesn't remember and that does erratic things. So to pledge your loyalty to someone and say, I'm going to keep you, I'm going to stay with you no matter what, when you know that you don't even have control over your own body, that's just irresponsible.
Yeah, he shouldn't really even be on that mission. I mean, like...
Also, I like the reference to the PTSD regs.
Yeah.
That was an effective scene, I think, when he was out in space in the, what did they call it?
The worker bee. Yeah, the worker bee.
Worker bee.
Same as they called it in the
original, when he was in there.
Well, not the original series, but I think the movies in technical manuals, that's what it was called.
And does every other one of his crewmates have enough trust in him to believe his flimsy excuse of, I'm sorry I let you down, or whatever he said to the effect that, oh, I'm sorry, it won't happen again?
And the captain's like, where were you? And he's like, I don't know. And the captain's like, what? He says, and what happened again? The captain's like, okay.
Yeah,
right.
The captain should say, no, you need to get away. You need to go to sick bay and hang out with Dr. Culver. How's he doing, by the way?
Don't say anything.
Yeah. Report to Dr. Culver right away. Has anyone seen him?
Please stay here. I mean, and also, he actually proves that he's unreliable. Every captain in the mirror universe has a personal guard. Why? To protect them from exactly what Connor tries to do. Where was he? Why was he not by her side in that turbo lift?
Well,
was he having a Bachism? He was having a Bach paroxysm. That's what I'm going to call them. It's really cool. It makes me want to start a metal band with that name.
Bach paroxysm.
Bach paroxysm. Yeah. So anyway.
Bach paroxysm rocks.
Paroxysm rocks. Bach's paroxysm rocks.
Peroxide.
Bach's paroxysm rocks.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
When the cat's away.
Yeah. There were a couple small details that I really enjoyed in this episode. I really want to know what Lorca's Tribble is called, but I don't think we're ever going to find out. So I'm just going to call it Lorca's Tribble.
Or
maybe
is it
his
real?
name is Smith or Fred or something. That'd be funny. My Tribble Fred. And then I loved the nonsensical Vulcan saying. I thought it was kind of funny and interesting.
What was it? I didn't catch what it was. I didn't hear what she was saying.
He says, "Isik for your thoughts." And
Isik?
Isik. Yeah, and it's like penny for your thoughts, except not. And I think she may have just made that up. I think she may have just been using the human saying. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. But I also you see in that scene where Ash kicks the chair out from under the table ever so slightly so she can sit down. You see the shoes, and I thought those were really cool looking shoes. I really want.
Yeah,
those
they were pretty cool shoes. Pretty gold lined shoes.
Gold stripes, and they're blue, and I want those shoes. And then also, I really love the short-sleeved female Discovery uniforms. They remind me of the short-sleeved midriff-bearing, though these don't do that, uniforms from the Enterprise Mirror Universe episodes. And that's just me. I mean, being a guy, I like those. So
midriffs?
Midriffs. Well, midriffs, and then also frankly, the more skin a woman shows, and that probably betrays some sort of crypto-misogyny on my part, but the more I enjoy watching. And Marilyn Monroe, I think, said this. She said, unless a woman's dress makes you want to rip it off her, it's not working properly. So, but then again, she was probably colonized by some kind of patriarchal anti-feminism. So I mean, like I'm expressing my views, but I'm also being critical of them at the same time. I went on this date with a diehard feminist last week, and so I'm really questioning these things because I hang out with a lot of white middle-class American males. I learn from a lot of really privileged who never have to ask these questions. So if anybody comes at you and says, hey, it's dumb that we've got a woman who is also black who is the lead for this show, be like, hey, screw you. We're representing something that's underrepresented historically and politically that we all really should learn more about. Go ahead.
They say the mirror universe is racist, but they don't seem to have any problem with a black woman being in charge.
Right. That seemed a
are they
little
racist against some other group?
Right.
They're racist against non-humans. Yeah.
It was redundant, though. Xenophobic.
It said,
adequate enough an explanation.
Oh, interesting.
You're not race. Species, alien species are not other races. They're actually other species. They're not humans.
Yeah, even the concept of race is an interspecies thing, or intra-species thing.
Maybe the clapping was condescending?
No, I don't think so. I think she would have had to kill them all.
I would have watched that scene.
I thought Burnham becoming evil was really delightful. She played it really well. She was really effective at it. There's this cool sense of her, regaining the captaincy. That was cool. Anyway, yeah.
It is kind of interesting how it really is enjoyable for us as viewers to see her kill that guy in the elevator and then everyone claps. It's like we actually kind of enjoy the mirror universe.
Yeah. So
we'd like to think we're the good guys, but this mirror universe stuff is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, there's what would be the inverse of a silver lining? The obsidian lining. That's what I'm going to call it. of this show is, and the shadow aspect of the mirror universe is that we humans do have these impulses and these desires to be violent, to be cruel, to rule over others, to just have power and revel in it, and to let loose in a completely amoral way. We get to enjoy seeing other people in a sufficiently well-constructed and robustly distancing context from our present everyday reality and circumstances. We get to see people do those things that we would love to do. So you're totally right. The mirror universe is a place for us to indulge our darker instincts and impulses as vicarious vicarious experiencers of what the characters on screen do. So, yeah.
I wonder if some of the characters from the Discovery are going to realize that they kind of like the mirror universe. They want to stay.
No, I don't think anybody.
No, they won't.
Is that bad.
But I think that would be interesting. I don't think Star Trek has it in it to depict that, but I think it would be cool.
Yeah, that would be
mirror universe cool. For 8 seasons would be great. You'd come back and then all of the changes to the original series Trek would just have quick contrived explanations.
It'd be like Game of Thrones in space.
We like
that would be boring.
Squeaky things better. Also, these sound effects didn't really gel with us. I guess we'll bring them back later in history, but right now we like weird, sort of clunky, kind of mechanical things and beeps that sound, I don't know, old and busted.
I think it would be cool if they stayed in the mirror universe for just 2 episodes and then they went to another universe that was kind of different. Now, the tricky part is you have to have a sufficiently robust representation of an alternate universe that's interesting in order for it to be worth visiting. And the mirror universe, they keep coming back to it, the writers from DS9, from Enterprise, and now, because it's interesting and it's so perpendicular. And there's never been an explanation for why everybody is kind of innately evil. Why do people indulge their baser instincts here? And then also why is everybody kind of duplicated? Well, I mean, we can see the writerly reason, because it's interesting and it's fun to watch, because it's easy to just paint a goatee onto Sarek and have him be another character suddenly. But in the universe, there's never an explanation. So in any case, there's a comic book series from Star Trek to Boldly Go. I'm not sure if you guys checked out the link, because the comics are all, eventually they make their way in full, beautiful graphic detail online for no cost. We're operating in the age of free information, incidentally, so nothing stays without
For now.
immediate, effortless, free access for very long. So the comics and the movies and the shows, like they're all accessible online. But it's To Boldly Go, and it's set in between the almost end of Star Trek Beyond and the end where the Star Trek Enterprise, the USS Enterprise A, is finished. And Captain Kirk becomes captain of another ship called the Endeavour. Spock and Uhura go to New Vulcan. And there's all these cool adventures that happen, like the Borg. They encounter the Borg in the Kelvin timeline, which is freaking cool. Spock gets sort of assimilated and resists, which is really cool because his mind is so strong. And you've always wondered what would happen if Kirk encountered the Borg. Well, you get to see it. So anyway, they're doing a storyline right now called IDIC, Infinite Diversity and Infinite Combinations. And there are different versions of the Enterprise crew. There's one where everybody is a gaseous being, which is just so cool and weird. Then there's this other one where everybody is a plant. Captain Kirk is a plant, and the bridge is like this forest. And then there's another one where Kirk, like his father or something was killed by Klingons, and so now he's a leader among the Klingons. And then he's like full of hatred for Spock, who got rid of his Vulcan ears, and who himself hates his own human heritage and goes by like Simon Grayson or something. And then there's another one where every male character is actually a female character, so it's Jane Kirk. Anyway, like what I'm talking about here is how it's been done really well recently, even concurrently. Right now that series is being released and it's going on, and I highly recommend it. This whole alternate universe thing. And I mean, I think it would be cool to see Discovery do that. Well, it's got the ability to do that because the Spore Drive clearly has access to several different universes, is what they were talking about in that scene or two in the Ready Room. So, you know, I hope if they do it, they have a sufficiently interesting way of doing it. I would be curious to see them do it. I don't mind if they go back to the Klingon War. This is a nice sidebar. What do you guys think about that whole sort of sliders Star Trek thing?
I think they can do a little of it, but it runs the risk of making it all seem a little bit meaningless.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, you have to spend a sufficient amount of time with one universe for it to be interesting.
Star Trek IDIC sounds good and sounds fun on paper, and it clearly works on paper.
Yeah, totally.
But IDIC, the TV show, yeah, I agree with Richard.
Actually,
and
there's
Mirror Universe, I don't think they should stay. Yeah.
There's another instance of this, and I have it somewhere. I believe in my like computer on Google Drive. It's called Star Trek Paradigms, and it's really beautiful, really elegant. There was this guy. I don't know what his name was really, but he went by the handle of Emperor Tiberius on Trek BBS. And in the fan fiction forum, he would release these serialized, extremely exquisitely well done. I'm surprised they weren't picked up and turned into a series of novels, like stories about they were called Star Trek Dark Ezri, and they were about her adventures with Captain Ransom, who is actually good in the Mirror Universe, and like how she got on and what she did, and like it was really cool. And then there was this spin-off series called Star Trek Paradigms where Captain Chakotay on a new ship, the ship gets like shifted into a different quantum reality, and it becomes kind of Quantum Leap Slider. Well, it's basically Star Trek Sliders, where he's trying to get back to the normal universe, and they have this drive that allows them to shift from one reality to the other, but they don't know how to make it hone in on their original reality. So they're just jumping, looking, hoping, and really well done. I can share those with you guys at some point. I really want to reread them. I keep like thinking about it and thinking how cool it is, but then there's other content for me to consume and things for me to do. So, yeah. But one question that showed up as I was talking about all that, what happens with the Ready Rooms, right? We have Ready Rooms on the NX-01 and on the Discovery, but not on the original Enterprise. And then we have them again on the Enterprise D. So, you know, Why the disappearance of the Ready Room?
I think we just didn't.
They were never
see
ready in the original series. They weren't ready. Maybe we didn't see it.
Maybe it was a matter of
kind of. There's a scene in The Cage where Pike goes and talks to a doctor in a room. Is that his Ready Room?
No, I think that's actually his quarters. Yeah, you see there's a bed there, which I don't think is likely for a Ready Room. Even the Shenzhou had a Ready Room.
Maybe Kirk was really particular about other people going into his Ready Room.
Maybe Kirk was always ready.
Yeah, maybe Kirk didn't need a. That's the answer. He didn't need a room to get ready in. There we go. We've got our answer. I'm going with
It's like, the universe is my Ready Room.
Dude. We should make T-shirts that say, Kirk is so badass, his bridge is his Ready Room.
Might sell a couple.
Yeah, we might sell like 3. I might buy
exactly. Us 3.
Incidentally, this is only going to be hilarious to us later, but Clever Orbits is currently making money because I'm paying for its storage every month. So money from my account is going into the account of Clever Orbits. Is directly paying for costs for Clever Orbits. So if any of you can find anyone who will pay $3 a month to listen to this stuff, please, then we can actually be profitable. Just $3.
Well, I'll keep
maybe
dropping money.
Maybe $1. We just like, Tyler, let's call Mom and be like, hey, Mom, could you please pay $1? Or Steven. We'll be like, Steven, pay $1 a
Mother,
month. Cover our overhead.
Mother, it's okay that you reared us and brought us up and probably went several $100,000 in debt to make sure that we survive. But $1 more is what we need every month.
I think someone somewhere should do that research. That'd be really interesting research. Like, how much does it actually legit cost for a human? Like to take care of them overall. Yeah.
Well, we're a bit far afield now.
Yeah, we're far afield. This episode was really good. It was really enjoyable, especially on the second viewing. What's funny about this is, like, the first time I saw it, I didn't really enjoy it. The second time, I was really excited about it because I had thought about it and I had read a little bit about it. And the more I watched it the second time, the more I wanted to see it the third time. So I'm probably actually going to watch this a third time with my my mentor on Wednesday, and that'll be fun. And then, I give it an A. I give it a straight-up A. It was good. It was enjoyable. I didn't have too many serious problems. If you really think about how they're reusing the mirror universe, they're doing it pretty elegantly. They're adding some depth there. They're adding some creativity. There are problems, but not more significant, as significant as, like, the other issues that Discovery has. I'm willing to look past those. Good characterization, good plot, decent plot. Yeah, it took some time to get started in the beginning, but anyway, that's my final thoughts. How about you guys?
9 out of 10.
I don't have any clever score. I think I'd give it a 9 too. I just think the proper way to watch the episode would be like through your bathroom mirror back at the TV.
Yeah, we still don't know what the hell that mirror scene with Demet was.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They just left that hanging.
It's implied by that conversation that he has with Lorca where, like, I've got to go find every Starfleet doctor and figure out what the heck is going on with me. So he clearly knows that there's something going on. We, as the viewer, just know very little about what's going on. And I guess they must be of the opinion that the vaguer they keep it, the more interested we'll be, and it's true. The less detail we get about what's actually going on, the more curious we get, and it's effective. So as unnerving as it is effective.
Yes. It's a plot that will guarantee that they have jobs for at least another season, I think, maybe.
Which it was renewed for another season, and they have talked about how more elements from the original series are going to be introduced, more one-off episodes will occur.
Optimism, that's the word they use.
Traditional Trek series.
Yeah, more optimistic.
Yeah, I like the arcs. I like that this is the most arc-driven of the shows so far. And it seems to do that pretty well. There are problems endemic to any arc, and not every show with an arc is Breaking Bad or Battlestar Galactica. So, and even then, Battlestar Galactica, what was the plan? They have a plan, the plan that the Cylons have for the whole show. It was just to kill all the humans. That was the plan. It was nothing more interesting than that.
I thought there was no plan.
Well, there wasn't for the writers for the longest time. It was just a red herring to make you curious and to keep you watching. The writers actually came out and said that. Yeah, we didn't have a plan. And so there's finally this direct-to-DVD Battlestar Galactica thing that Steve and I rented. We were, like, so excited because it was called Battlestar Galactica: The Plan. And we found out that, yeah, it was basically the Cylons' plan to just kill all the humans, which we knew the whole time. We knew that. So going afar afield again. Anyway, this has been a great episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Check out our other stuff. We do Voyager, we've been doing the Borg, and we're going to continue Discovery week by week. And in conclusion, welcome, welcome, welcome.